What's
Good
up?
morning. Well, it's morning for me. It's not morning for you.
Good afternoon. It's Degen News Wednesday, Degen Day. And it's also Hump Day, which I have to point out because Hump Day is just a fun day.
Because you can't help yourself?
Can't help it. No, I'm like kind of a child in an adult's body some days, so.
Yes, sort of.
That would be sort of, or entirely. up for debate still.
I like the Halborn shirt. That's cool.
We're thinking the same thing. Good shout out to our friends at Halborn. If you're looking for security partners, check them out. They're pretty awesome. We've used them for years. Great guys.
I also like your gold chain. But do you wear that just for this, or have you become like an actual DeFi gangster?
No, I just wear it for this. But I did order the RBL thing.
Yeah, when's it coming?
Okay, I was thinking about this yesterday. I think I asked you, what is that called that goes on?
It's called a pendant.
Are you sure?
Yes.
I thought pendants.
The thing that you pin on is a brooch.
Ah. Okay. I need to get up with the accessory naming conventions.
Yeah, the accessory naming conventions from the 1930s. Like, what do you do?
I also got to turn my sign on.
Get your life together.
All right. Okay, we're a live show.
It's Degen Day, so we're allowed to do this, I guess.
We're a live show, as you can tell, Monday to Friday, 12:30 p.m. Eastern. All the different venues: Facebook, LinkedIn,
everywhere, forever.
Instagram, YouTube, Twitter, Twitch, Twitter Spaces, Spotify. Like, share, subscribe, help us get the word out. Okay, what are we talking about today?
Okay, all right. Well, we're gonna talk about Bald because we have to talk about Bald because it's just alive, and I don't normally like talking about shitcoins, but we should talk about it a little bit. And then we're gonna talk about maybe some FUD around Cosmos and maybe try to dispel that a little bit. We're gonna talk about real life utility via the Golden Cask Club and how you can own portions of like whiskey barrels and champagne barrels via NFT. I love luxury NFTs. I think they're pretty smart. So we're gonna talk about that, and then we also get UFO themed tokens. We put off talking about the alien news for a couple days now, and I knew like we can't go a whole week without it.
I have to talk about it.
Do you?
Oh man, there's aliens for sure. But we'll get into that in a bit. All right. So for people listening on Twitter Spaces, we're gonna play a little video. I've hacked a way to get the sound to play. You won't see it, obviously, but you'll hear it. It's 24 seconds. So as I just set my settings where they need to be.
This is so painful. One day we'll have.
Let's
produce.
Fucking go.
We have quite a few people today. So hi, Evie and Nikki, our regulars. And hi, Christopher. And then it looks like there's some other people listening on their desktop. We can't actually see you, but we can know that you're here.
Okay. I'm just going to change this sound back because it's obnoxious. There we go. All right. So we're going to start with Coinbase. So Coinbase launched Base.
Yeah.
And there was a lot of thought about whether it was going to be a hit or there's going to be volumes or not, or what was going to happen. And it turns out that just like any other new ecosystem, the Anon early meme projects went rampant. And
what? So unpredictable. I had no idea that would happen.
So this is an interesting one, actually. I'll let you introduce it and then I'll give my thoughts. Go ahead.
You just introduced it. That was the introduction, JD.
No,
what else do you want from me?
Go for your thoughts first. Half a million. Okay, fine. I'll explain it. So turns out that in 24 hours they did 500,000 transactions, which is insane. Crypto degens blindly investing in them. There's not a lot of tooling. There's not a lot of tooling yet for Base, obviously, and so it's really like an ape fest. Like it's proper degen. Anyways, this
if you missed the Wild West, this is it.
This bald thing. I mean, I'm bald, so obviously I was like, ooh, bald, and it was a picture.
And did you buy in? Did you ape in? I should have known. I should have counter traded you. I could be a millionaire today.
I didn't, mainly because I just don't have time to to chase this nonsense. But a lot of people made a shit pile of money on Bald, but there was like a huge liquidity crunch. And often this is what happens. People that know this stuff is coming are very, very prepared. Everything is botted like crazy, especially in a new ecosystem when there's not a lot of bot competition. Everything gets botted like crazy. And so some people make a lot of money. The developers took out 6,800 ETH.
That's so much ETH.
Yeah, they essentially rugged the project, not entirely.
I have to ask for real. Okay, first of all, you've taken my job, so I don't know what you want from me now. But second of all,
we just need some feminine energy on the call.
What would be the purpose of withdrawing the liquidity aside from like, oh, we're going to withdraw this so that we can have money for our own pockets? Is this like the continuation of the project? Is this a security feature? Like, is there any sort of like positive spin on let's withdraw our liquidity?
That's a good question. The answer is most likely not. There are reasons that you might withdraw some liquidity. So when you add liquidity, you generally add a lot at the beginning when the market cap is relatively low. You add quite a bit to allow the token not to go bananas with low liquidity. But what happens inevitably is if a lot of people buy that token, the remaining assets in that pool are worth a hell of a lot more than they were when you first put them in. So 6,800 ETH was nowhere close to that when they put it in. And an argument could be made that if over time they have more and more people adding liquidity, then their assets aren't necessarily needed for liquidity because there's deep enough liquidity elsewhere. That didn't happen here. The liquidity that they pulled made it so that anybody that sold, the slippage was like insane. So it's essentially a rug pull, but not quite. There's enough momentum there that somebody could fix it. But again, it's one of those things. People that were early and insiders, this is what I don't like about crypto. This, I think, gives us a bad name in some ways. It's insiders and early participants that knew about something like Bald. You can tell based on how the transactions and purchases happened at first.
Oh, does that mean the SEC is going to come after Bald for insider trading?
Beats me. But my thought on this is it's not just Bald. There was a
I know
meme coin
and
optism.
Yeah.
Optism. Anyways, there's a lot of meme coins, but I mean, to think that there's not going to be a lot of eyes on base in America right now, to me, is like from regulators is laughable.
Absolutely.
And so if I was going to try to do an anonymous kind of cash grab scam, which I wouldn't, but if I was going to try to, I sure as shit wouldn't be doing it on base right now, today, with regulatory scrutiny the way it is. But anyways, 6,800 ETH, that's what? $18 million.
It's a wild amount of money.
It's not 18 million. It's a lot though.
I feel like that's incorrect. But the thing that I thought was interesting is in the first 24 hours, there were 536 transactions.
12,240,000.
No, on base. So
no, I'm just saying the value of 6,800 ETH. 12 million.
I was like 12 million is very different than 536,000.
That's transaction.
So that's not Bald specifically, just base. And like 500,000 people in 24 hours is a pretty decent. I mean, like, is base taking off? Are people using base a lot? I haven't used base because I'm not in America, but like,
well, there's 111 million users. There's 111 million Coinbase users, plus or minus 110, 100.
Yeah.
Different. So they've got like 1/3%, which isn't horrible. Don't get me wrong. 500,000.
It's decent.
You said 500,000, right?
Yeah, in 24 hours.
Yeah. So, I mean, it's decent.
Well, 500,000 transactions, so not users.
Oh, yeah.
So then that's also always like, are there 100 people making 500 transactions? Like,
I suspect there's a lot of bot transactions, but to get to 200 million in volumes, I mean, it's hopefully people not making completely useless transactions. It's always you got to be a little bit skeptical when you hear these early launch numbers because weird things sometimes get reported in transaction counts that aren't actually transactions, but the way that we like to think of them. They're more like messaging or data payload as opposed to asset payload. But yeah, I don't know, like base, the thing about base, and I'm excited about base. I think it's great for the space to just start diverging into different styles of ecosystems. But the thing about base is like, it really doesn't make sense for anybody other than Coinbase users to use it.
Right.
And So if you're a Coinbase user and you want easy access to something on chain, then you can just go directly to Base. I think the business model makes sense. They have a fairly captive audience there, and whatever they're allowing to happen on Base, I think is going to be adopted fairly quickly. But we'll see.
So before we move on from this, I have to ask. I know that you don't like meme coins. You don't like shit coins. You don't like. Yeah. You didn't like Pepe. You sort of like Doge because Elon, but not really. I have
never owned Doge, and I don't plan on it unless it becomes like mandatory in X.com. But anyways.
But they continue to be present in our ecosystem, right? And every time a coin like that comes out, everybody I know is like, I should get in on that because I could be the next millionaire. But like, what do you think I'm not asking you for a stat. Obviously, we haven't looked this up. But what do you think the ratio is of people who are actually making a lot of money off of this versus those who, suffer from the rut?
So the people that are in total number of people making money off these meme coins is probably a rounding error relative to the amount of people that are losing money to these meme coins. It's just the volume is totally different. You get 1 million people that lose $1,000 and you get 10 people that make $1 billion.
Right.
Like it's those are obviously exaggerated numbers.
They're made up. They're made up numbers, not financial advice.
But so I don't know. Like the reason I don't like meme coins is because I think it highlights everything that's wrong with the space. So it highlights the mentality of get rich quick.
Yeah.
It emphasizes zero utility assets. They thumb their nose to regulators and all of this stuff. Meme coins are almost always anonymous. They're always skirting rules and doing all these things. I think it's just a really, really bad look. And so instead of just saying that it's a bad look, I also choose to not participate. Yeah. I mean, a good rule of thumb, and this is the problem with like any emerging market is always this way. Nobody knows about it. And the way to get people to know about it is to go around telling everybody how much money they can make. That's like a pretty good, it's a pretty good hook for most people.
Yeah.
If you have 1,000, there's a bunch of people that turned that into 1 million last cycle. Right. Yeah, there's 100. And then there's 10 million people that lost that 1,000 last cycle. And so be it. Which one would you rather be? Good old adage to keep in mind here, in my opinion. And I mean, I'm just me. This isn't financial advice or anything, of course. But if it feels too good to be true, it probably is.
Yeah.
And same thing, there really is no get rich and maintain riches quick way to do it. So maybe you hit 1 million, but then you think you're going to turn that 1 million to 10, you lose it all.
Exactly.
And you're gone. It's typical gambler's mentality. I feel like meme coins are 100% like the casino. Unless you built the meme coin or know the people that did, which is illegal, having inside information, you're completely lost. There's no way to meaningfully build expectations around this stuff. You can even look at what other meme coins have done, but that doesn't mean shit because the prisoner's dilemma comes into place. So prisoner's dilemma being, if none of us sell, we all make more money. But if I sell before you, I make even more money than I would have otherwise, and you're fucked. And so I might say, well, I'm a pretty altruistic person. I like Kiara, or I like the other people in this project. It's fun. I don't want to dump on them, whatever.
It's just me. Whenever we invest in things, JD just thinks about
it's just you and I. But having said that, I might not want to fuck you over, but then it all comes down to, do I think you're going to screw me over? And ultimately, the only meaningful solution that most people come to is you both dump early. Then it becomes logic of how early? How early do I think you're going to dump? So then as the meme coins continue in a cycle, the time to dumping becomes less and less and less, and the upside becomes less and less and less because people would rather take some money off the table than none, et cetera, et cetera. So that was a really long-winded answer to tell you that I think meme coins really highlight all the problems with the space, in my opinion. The regulatory concerns, the way that anonymous groups act when they think they're anonymous, some of the things that they do, it's rife with scams. Like for the amount of meme coins that actually do something, there's orders of magnitude more that almost instantly die with the first few people's money in it. And what we don't hear about is all of these little rug pulls where there's like 30, 50, 80 grand in liquidity on these shit coins that didn't go like bald. And the teams just constantly launch shit coins and pull liquidity, and all of those people lost their investments. So no one made money on a lot of the shit coins. And there's only like a very, very small fraction of these types of projects, meme coins, that actually turn into something. So the odds are significantly against you. And so I don't like it. I don't like meme coins. I don't buy them, out of principle, because if I think it's bad for the space, why would I participate and support it? And second, I just don't have time.
It's interesting to hear you talk about tokens, that kind of thing. I know you're not a big TA person, but this type of rhetoric wants me to see TA side by side with like a sociology major, looking at, sentiment and crypto Twitter and that kind of thing, and see like which is actually the early indicator and how secretive people actually are versus like how reactive they actually are. It's very curious. And that's part of why meme coins are not stable. While we're here talking about tokens, how do you feel about luxury NFTs?
Yeah, so this is actually cool. I don't know specifically about the Golden Cask Club.
Well, they're new, so you can't know about the Golden Cask Club. But my question was, how do you feel about luxury NFTs?
I'm getting there. So at BTC Miami this last year and the year prior, there's a lot of really eclectic kind of side events, or at Art Basel, there's a lot of kind of non-standard crypto events. Right. And I happened to be at one where they had a tequila company that does this. So if you have an NFT, it entitles you to a certain amount of bottles of tequila over a certain period of time. But then you also have, it's like a ticket, because they do all these like super exclusive events all over North America and the world. I don't drink, so I'm not buying a tequila NFT for that purpose. But I think I really think it's a huge opportunity for so many brands, because it's revenue capture. It creates evangelism. It's in and of itself marketing. I think it's a really smart application of NFTs. This is, to me, what NFT technology, we're just scratching the surface of how it'll enable,
fractional NFTs are so interesting, right? But a few weeks ago, we had Ben Grout on, and Ben and I talked about luxury watch NFTs. Yeah. And we even talked about like getting your knees broken in the metaverse because you leveraged I think that's what it was. Someone leveraged their luxury watch NFT on a mortgage or something to that end, or for some kind of loan. And so we were like, okay, well, what happens if you default on that? Like, or do they take your actual watch away? Do they take your NFT away? Is your watch actually worth less without the NFT? What does that all kind of look like? But when you look at owning something like a cask or co-ownership or fractional ownership of a luxury item, suddenly that luxury item doesn't have that same like luxury piece, right? You're not going to own a fraction of a Burberry scarf. Like, so I also wonder, so I've seen, I get targeted for all kinds of investment ads. I've also seen investment ads for just owning stock in the company, that not Golden Cask specifically, but owning stock in a company that has barrels. And when I worked at a brewery and a distillery, we would sell fractions of barrels to people and companies like before we ever made them. Right? Like we would hold big parties and core people, and that's how we funded some of these really specialty brews. And so this is just like a different way to do that seems a little bit more stable, I think. Instead of a handshake over a drink, it's like, oh, I actually have tangible ownership of a portion of this, right? So
this to me, this in my opinion is going to succeed, and here's why. One of the biggest challenges with scaling these types of production businesses, when you're producing a good, widgets or whatever, is like, in order to finance all of these different projects, you need contracts from like purchase orders from vendors or whoever. The challenge is you don't get paid until delivery, generally speaking. And the cost of running huge runs of a new novel whiskey, like a high end, it's very expensive. So there's two ways to go about that. You either get a bunch of investment, which is very, very hard to come by right now. You get loans, which are incredibly expensive right now, especially for startup businesses, if they can even get them. You can do purchase order financing. If you've got a purchase order, there are groups that will finance it in the interim, but it's like very expensive. Right. Or you can do this. You can find other ways. And the reason I say this is going to be successful is because it exists in many other spaces. It also exists in almost every major real estate development project ever. So Absolutely. what happens is there's a blank piece of land, and you'll see like a little house there like a little modular trailer or something selling initial properties, and those properties are sold effectively at cost. And the reason for that, but you got to wait 2 or 3 years until you actually have the property that you're paying for, and you make progress payments and all this other crap. Anyways, all of this to say, that's how they fund the construction of the project. That becomes their initial contribution with which they get more leverage based on, right? So if it's $1 billion project, you get 50 million in, or well, it's probably more than that. Well, yeah, let's call it 50 million in initial purchases, and then you finance the rest of it, and that becomes kind of your cash. That's your deposit into the structure. One more thought on this, actually. The fractional NFTs, you brought up a Burberry scarf as potential for fractional NFTs. A couple of years ago, this is a good business idea for anybody that's listening, if you're interested, because I'm not going to build it. But a couple of years ago, we were talking about what would be really neat as fractional NFTs were kind of, the narrative was starting a little bit, and we haven't really seen it done in like a meaningful, scalable way yet. But what would be really cool is for a lot of like luxury items that you are very expensive and you don't use very often, it would be interesting to have like Amazon style warehouse somewhere that if you owned a fraction of this item, you could book it out for use over a certain amount of time. And that the fractional piece is your deposit. So if you don't give the item back, well, there might have to be more in there because you only have paid for a fraction of it. Anyways, I don't have all the details figured out, but
it's kind of like a timeshare, right?
Kind of.
If there's something but there's something that you can't afford on your own. You can't afford this luxury, whatever, home or vacation spot on your own. And so you share it with other people. You trust that the other people are going to share it nicely as well. They're not going to trash it or whatever. And so I think there is kind of this level of fractional NFTs that can work really well for some tangible goods. But I also think that democratizing luxury goods will sully the concept of luxury goods, which is, I'm not a super luxury person. I don't really care if that happens, but but I can see how people wouldn't like that. Like, do you remember when, was it American Eagle used to go to Value Village and take all their clothes off the rack because they didn't want poor people wearing their clothes? Do you remember that?
What?
Yeah, that was, it was like when I was in high school and they hired pickers and they would go to Value Village and other thrift stores.
For anybody that's listening, Value Village, I don't know if they exist all over.
Oh, I thought it was in America too, because it's owned by Walmart, right?
Maybe, I don't know. But in Canada, it's like, it's a big thrift store that's everywhere. Yeah.
So anyways, so the idea here was that they didn't want, poor people or people who couldn't afford the brand normally to be seen wearing the brand because it would dilute the sentiment of the brand that they built up. And so if you're looking at purchasing fractional NFTs like Rolexes or Burberry or I don't know, McLaren's, will they allow that to happen or not, right? Just an interesting concept.
If someone builds the fractional NFT platform with like a warehouse, another example of that was like shoes or expensive clothing items where you're not going to spend, well, not everybody's going to spend 10 grand on a suit, but you might have a really important event that you want to use a nice suit that's properly tailored, but you're going to use it once. Like, what the hell are you going to do with it after? Yeah. But it could also be worth more. The suit's a bad example, but it could be worth more down the road. So you want some of your proportionate upside too, right? So
you don't want to just rent it or something. Yeah,
exactly. And so I think there's some opportunities here. Maybe that's a dumb idea. I don't know. It's been a couple of years since I thought about it, but
all right.
Anyways, I think
one more token thing.
I think this is a really cool use of the tech to sum up.
What about UFO tokens?
Yeah.
Do you think UFO tokens are the coolest thing that we could use our tech for? So obviously there are aliens or not. We can talk about that. But because there's so many aliens in the news and because there's all of the whistleblowing and all of that's going on, we now have over 50 UFO themed tokens in DeFi. And we all knew that was going to happen, but I'm kind of thrilled that it did happen. It looks like some of them saw gains and then losses. I wonder how related that is to the testimony.
Zero. It's so, again, this further builds my argument against meme coins. Although I love the narrative of aliens because
absolutely.
I just don't think, given the expansive size of the universe. Now, I'm not a physicist or a biologist or a scientist of any sort, so this is just my personal opinion. But I mean, the universe is so big.
Not alien advice.
Yeah, not alien advice. Not yet, anyways. I am talking to Elon Musk about alien consultancy. We'll see. But anyways, I think in my opinion, there has to be life somewhere else in the universe, whether they have the technology to travel to us or not, who knows? But the universe has been around for billions of years. We've been evolving for a fraction of that on Earth. So to think that no other planet in a massive universe has had any evolution happen on it, to me is like kind of striking. Like, I just don't think that's possible. So do I think aliens are currently here? I don't know. Do I think their aliens have been here in the past and Area 51's a big cover up and we have alien bio items everywhere and all this nonsense? Like, if you watch the hearings, they were a little bit goofy, to be honest. But if there's any truth to it, then that's exciting. A guy that I watch on podcasts all the time, Matt Walsh, is like 100% sure that there's aliens, they're amongst us, and that we're just about to learn about it. And so I think it's really funny. Now, bringing this back to the meme coins, most of these tokens have sweet FA to do with anything actually meaningful. It's just a narrative, right? They're taking advantage of a prevailing narrative and building something on it. The game of shitcoins is ridiculous. Like, you'll see like somebody will launch a Floki 5.5. Mm-hmm. And if that goes crazy, then you'll see 10 million other people launching Shiba 5.5, whatever, shitcoin B 5.5. Like, it's ridiculous. Like, it's just a narrative thing. But I do like the topic of said narrative, so they can keep the UFO shitcoins going.
Yeah, you like the UFO shitcoins? Did you buy any?
No, come on. Come on, you know that. Hey, we didn't get to talk about Cosmo.
No, hold on. I have to say really quick. Didn't we always know there were aliens? Like, I remember Area 51 being a thing.
But
that we talked about in like the 90s.
Yeah, but that's what we've all like been conditioned to think. But who knows? Like, Area 51, I was thinking about this the other day. If you're going to try to be a leader in global military might, so to speak, in technology, you're going to have to develop, test, and store this stuff somewhere where nobody can see it. Yeah. And the only place I'm aware of that is big enough for this in America, other than a couple army bases, but that is pretty public to all the people that train there, is Area 51. And so, I mean,
but I thought we knew that. Like, I thought that was the known rhetoric, is that if you want to deal with alien stuff, it's in Area 51. Like, I don't know. I found I watched this footage also because I'm a loser, and because it was kitschy and kind of campy, and I felt like I was watching the X-Files. But I was kind of like, they haven't given us any new information. Like, didn't we already have this knowledge from the last time they did this?
So
40 years ago?
There's no way to prove or disprove that. That's the thing. So they led everybody to believe that there was probably aliens. No one ever confirmed that. And Trump, before he got in office, said he's going to expose the truth about aliens, and then never did. So either there is no truth about aliens.
That's why we voted for Trump, was because of the aliens.
That's the only reason anybody voted for Trump, is aliens. And then he didn't deliver. So, I mean, he's out of office, obviously. He didn't get a second term. Okay. So.
Okay, well, happy Wednesday.
Happy Wednesday. For everybody that's listening, thanks for tuning in live. We're a live show every weekday, 12:30 p.m. Eastern, Monday to Friday.
Wait, are the UFO themed tokens going to revitalize the Cosmos network?
We'll talk about that tomorrow.
Because they'll fly.
Because, yeah, I get it. They'll fly from.
Sorry.
Yeah. Oh, man.
This is a show, so.
It also turns out Kiara is not a comedian, if anybody was wondering. But like, share, subscribe, help us get the love out there, please. We would love it if you could bookmark the Twitter Spaces and the replays on Twitter. Obviously, that really helps with reach. And yeah, we'll be here tomorrow with Global Arms Race tomorrow. So we're talking about
crypto arms race.
Race. Yeah. So we talk about what's going on in many different countries.
I get to add aliens.
Yeah, aliens
we can
are
go
now
to other planets now.
Yeah,
yes.
Part of the arms race. It is
like an hour-long show on Thursdays. Okay, that's enough.
All right,
JD, go FUD yourself.
No, I said first.
Not today.
Go FUD yourself later.